In the modern theater of war, unity is the ultimate strategic asset. But right now, in the very heart of Europe, that unity has just been fractured. And it exposes a fault line that could redefine the future of the entire continent. 90 billion euros. This is the staggering amount of a critical loan the European Union just failed to deliver to Ukraine. This isn't just a delay in funding, it's a crisis signal, deliberately sent by a single member state, and it has stopped the EU's largest financial commitment to the war dead in its tracks. And make no mistake, this wasn't some quiet objection behind closed doors. This was a direct public accusation from Hungary's foreign minister, Péter Szijjártó. He's claiming there's a coordinated effort to undermine his country's sovereignty, not from an adversary, but from supposed allies. A statement like this sets the stage for a major confrontation. So here's the tactical situation. Hungary has now publicly vetoed two massive EU initiatives, the 20th sanctions package against Russia and that 90 billion euro loan to Ukraine. This is a direct, frontal challenge to the EU's entire strategy on the war. Now, you might be asking, how can one country just halt the will of 26 others? The answer is something called the unanimity rule. See, on the most critical issues, we're talking sanctions, foreign policy, major finance, every single member has veto power. For decades, Brussels has managed to keep this power in check through backroom deals and political pressure. But Hungary just broke the seal. And that gets to the heart of the real damage here. This isn't just about money or sanctions. It's about the story the West tells the world. That narrative of an unbreakable, united front against Russia, it's been shattered. Hungary has publicly put its own national security and economic interests above the EU's collective policy, and that changes the entire dynamic. So, what exactly triggered this diplomatic explosion? Well, the immediate cause wasn't just ideology. It was a pipeline, a piece of critical infrastructure that has suddenly become a geopolitical flashpoint. This is the Druzhba pipeline. The name is Russian for friendship, a relic from the Soviet era. For over 60 years, it has been the economic lifeblood for several nations in Central and Eastern Europe, the main artery delivering Russian crude oil. And for Hungary, this pipeline is everything. Look at this number, 65%. That's the share of Hungary's total oil supply that comes through this single piece of infrastructure. The refineries are built specifically for it. This isn't just a preference, it's a deep structural dependency. For Budapest, the Druzhba pipeline means energy security, it means economic stability, and here's where the conflict ignites. Ukraine's position is that the transit fees paid for this oil directly fund the Russian war machine, so they suspended the flow. It's a logical, moral stance from their perspective, but Hungary sees it very differently. To them, this is a violation of international transit agreements, a deliberate pressure tactic engineered by Kyiv and Brussels to force them into a corner. But to really understand why Hungary is willing to take such a massive political risk, you have to look beyond the pipeline. This isn't just about oil. It's about a much deeper strategic calculation, a mix of history, cold hard reality, and domestic politics that is driving their every move. You can break down their thinking into four key drivers. First, there's history. After decades under Soviet domination, any pressure from a central authority like Brussels is met with intense resistance. Second, energy reality. As we just saw, their dependency on Russian oil is a fact on the ground. Third, it's political. Standing up to the EU plays very well for Viktor Orban's government back home. And fourth, and this is crucial, there's a genuine policy disagreement. Budapest believes the EU's entire sanctions strategy has failed and that it's hurting Europe more than it's hurting Russia. Which is why this is no longer just a Hungarian problem. This single veto acts like a stress test, and it's revealing a systemic fracture point in the entire European Union. It's forcing a very uncomfortable conversation about what the EU project really is. Now, take a look at this number, which Hungary's foreign minister has been citing. $155 billion. That's the projected annual cost just to maintain Ukraine's army, starting in 2026. Think about that. The 90 billion euro loan that was just blocked doesn't even cover 2/3 of that single year's cost. So Hungary is asking, very publicly, what is the endgame here, and who's going to pay this ever-escalating bill? And what this all does is rip the cover of a fundamental tension at the heart of Europe. It's the push for a more centralized federal EU versus the fierce defense of national sovereignty. Hungary is drawing a line in the sand, saying the interests of the nation-state come first, and that is an existential challenge to the direction Brussels has been heading for decades. So where does this road lead? Well, it looks like there are three potential futures for the EU.
One is a slow disintegration, where more countries start prioritizing their own interests, making collective action impossible. Another is a two-tiered Europe, with a tightly integrated core and a looser outer ring of states. Or third, Brussels could try to centralize power even further, overriding national vetoes, a move that could very well push some members toward the exit.
And this crisis brings us to the most fundamental question of all. The idea of European solidarity is a powerful one, but what happens when the price of that solidarity, the economic cost, the political cost, becomes too high for one of its members to bear? Can the Union hold? And you have to wonder about contagion. Hungary has shown that a country can openly defy Brussels on a major issue and withstand the political firestorm. So the question now is, will other member states who have quiet concerns about the cost and direction of the war, countries like Slovakia, perhaps Austria, will they be emboldened to follow suit? And that leaves us with the final, most critical question. Has Hungary's veto simply exposed a truth that was there all along, that the united front we see is a fragile facade, one that holds together in times of consensus, but shatters under the immense pressures of modern great power conflict? The answer to that question will define the security of Europe for the next generation.